Good morning. Happy Sunday. I wanted to make a video to talk about a Catholic festival I went to, a Catholic fall festival. It was called, I believe, the St. Paul Fall Festival. It was just some Catholic church was hosting a celebration of fall. I asked a couple people, I was like, hey, is this in honor of something? Because I'm aware Monday's Columbus Day. So I wasn't sure if that was tied in whatsoever to this time of the year, which I found out it wasn't. It was just because people are happy and want to celebrate fall. So when I went to this thing, right, because I've been looking for an invitation for Catholicism. I've been trying that just for an immersive experience to experience the culture and people that prescribe and live by that paradigm. And it was the coolest thing I've been to. Oh, it was phenomenal. First off, it was more Mexican-based cultural heritage, and it was everything about it was more geared towards that cultural and origin and how Catholicism came in and shaped and influenced that culture. And the way when I first got there, mind you, it started at 1 in Texas, and so it was like 93 degrees out. And the first thing, when I paid for my ticket, we got in. My mom's here visiting too, which here, you can say hi to her. She's cooking breakfast right now. Hey, Mommy, say hi.
Hi.
Yeah, there we go. Oh, so we go in there, and when I hear like drums, and I see dancers dancing in these beautiful red, white, yellow, and just colors of Mexico, colors of, I guess, I learned this later, it was in honor of the Lady of Guadalupe, and they're called machines. I believe they're called machines, but it was extraordinary because they had the local, right? Catholicism came in with the Spanish when they came to North America. And yes, everyone's familiar with that storyline. But regardless of that, what's so beautiful is that the local indigenous tribes and cultures made this hybrid and beautiful melting pot of what they considered thankful for, their gratitude of what Catholicism has taught and shown them. And for a local indigenous people to come in and to basically embrace and make a fusion of this external belief system that came in and arguably did atrocious things to them, and for them to still honor it and embed it into their culture and assimilate it and make it beautifully flow, right? That could have been a cacophony of nonsense if, for instance, if you look at in the United States, the indigenous cultures that are here, they're very separate. They're not very assimilated too well. However, in Mexico, Catholicism and the indigenous tribes both equally showed reverence and sacredness for each other by how they've mixed and intermingled and fused the cultures. Like I said, it is so extraordinary. And so I sat there watching these dancers. It was amazing. And then at one point, I was bawling, right? It's 93 degrees outside, and these people in these beautiful gowns, decorated with all these beads and intricate things and the colors. And then on the backs, they had like pictures of Jesus Christ and Mary, and so extraordinary. And then while they were doing this dance, they did it for quite a while, I'll say, in the heat. There was a little child, like maybe 3 years old at most, mimicking their dance moves, and I posted it to my Instagram story because it was just so beautiful to see, because that again demonstrates, right, children at that age, they're very cognitively aware, and they're already building their framework of how they want to perceive the world. And for that child, right, the child doesn't understand the symbolism, the child doesn't understand the cultural history, all the things that has happened through centuries of history in Mexico. But what that child saw was rhythm, music, harmony, all the things captured into one moment, and they were just mimicking those movement patterns because they were perceiving, again, beautiful movements that are coexisting, and they didn't approach it with any sort of bias or belief or opinion. And it was just extraordinary to see, right, the future and the past and present coincide and how it was interacting. Amazing. It was so good, actually. Because when it was time for them to end their performance, they kind of walked off and out the gate area. I followed them like a groupie, man. Like, you wouldn't have been able to tell me from a Taylor Swift fan, because I followed them because I wanted a picture, and I wanted to thank them so much for that beautiful and amazing performance. And I found out, right, one thing that's extraordinary about Catholicism that I didn't recognize prior, I did recognize, but I wasn't fully aware of it. It is the one religious framework that actually honors both men and women in their doctrine, in their teachings, in everything. And that's what, because I went and talked inside with another lady, and because I wasn't familiar with the story, and how it occurred was there was some human a long time ago climbed up on a hill, and they had a vision, they had an experience where a female said something to them. And that's extraordinary, very, very unique, because Catholicism is the only religion that honors women. Fundamentally, it's built into the framework by the Virgin Mary. Look, I even bought a rosary because it was just so beautiful. It was like handmade by this woman. And I loved it. I absolutely love the meaning and symbolism behind it. And so we're going to go over that. But with Catholicism, there are multiple different visions or things that people have experienced across different places on the globe that are female. And Catholicism, right, if you think about it, the Vatican has become so unique and everything that they have. And one of the reasons they've become so successful, and people don't realize this, is because from their origin, they incorporated both female and masculine components of being human. Right? They honor and worship Virgin Mary as much as they do Jesus and God and all the other different saints they have. They have both men and women, and they honor them both equally. That is unique and rare, right? They even have a prayer, right? We'll go over this. I'm aware that the beads represent, right, when you pray the rosary, I believe it's like a Hail Mary. Oh, I looked this up. What? Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed be the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Something along those lines, right? And then you say like a Father's, or the Our Father who art in heaven. Something, that's as far as I remember about that one. But this is a beautiful way, right? This is a beautiful way for someone to show their devotion and effort towards trying to grow and trying to learn. And if you think about it, this is a way for people to help memorize things. Because if you're repeating it over and over again, you memorize things so quickly. And so I would argue, like, if a school applied this, right, and they had sayings, it'd be like, repeat this saying like 6 times and you'll memorize all like, if you made the state capitals around the world, or the global capitals around the world, into some sort of standard phrase or thing that you repeat over and over again, and you assign a rosary and be like, here you go, learn the capitals of the world. A child would learn it. Someone would learn the capitals of the world, because they're basically utilizing repetition over and over again. It's the same thing that you do with songs, right? Songs are so easy to remember because they're so catchy. The rosary, again, itself, it fundamentally honors women. The majority of this is prayers to women, I believe, as far as like the Hail Mary. That's honoring females. And so Catholicism, again, sure, people can say whatever they want about it, but fundamentally, if you look at what they've done, they both honor the male and female presence beyond what any other religion has done. That is remarkable and truly unique. So with that, I was walking around to the different vendors, and one woman I came up to, she was selling different, like, various purses and wreaths that they had made, different theme things, and these 2 women were just strangers, or they became friends over the time. And I bought this rock because I love Calvin and Hobbes. So one of the women, she had random little trinkets, and I said, oh, like, what, did you make this as well? And she said, no, that's my niece's or my nephew's. Someone had made these. So there was a bunch of little artwork And I said, oh, that's interesting. Well, what does your niece do or nephew do? And she said the loves drawing and things like that, and is just starting out in life in their early 20s. And so she told her, she said, hey, give me some of your artwork, and I'm going to this little festival, and I'll just put it out, and I'm there anyways. Let me try to sell some of your artwork and get it out there into the world. And she did this for a couple people. And I said, well, what about this? And she said, oh yeah, that's my neighbors. I just met them recently, actually, and found out they're into crafts. And so I asked them to take some of their crafts and sell it for them and get their name out there. This woman alone, right? Oh, and her story was remarkable. Sorry, I'm jumping all over because I'm so excited. I have this book that I keep, and every business card that I get and the people that touch me, I write their stories down, and I write some of the things that about what they've touched me with, or how their origin stories. And so I love, documenting that so I can remember them. But this woman, she took a sewing class in high school. Fast forward to COVID, and she's an accountant by trade. She's an older woman. She has 2 full-grown children. And COVID hit, and so she just decided to sew and see if, sew masks. And then all of a sudden, someone else asked for an apron. And then all of a sudden, someone asked, hey, can you do this? Hey, actually, can you do this? And her business, her creativity just grew and flourished. And now she's into doing acrylics, and her work is phenomenal. All hand sewn, all extraordinary, and all because of COVID. And I have a couple people I've met, actually, which is a theme. They all picked up their hobbies because of COVID, and they've turned into small business owners that are starting to thrive. Truly remarkable. Absolutely cool. Well, learning about their stories was phenomenal. And she even said, I do this artwork because it's my way of decompressing, my way of thinking, my way of expressing my emotions. And her ability to articulate herself as to why she did that was very unique, especially for a Catholic. No offense to Catholicism, but they're a little bit more timid and shy with being openly vulnerable and expressing certain fears. So with that, and then she also gave me a little adult coloring book as part of my thank you for purchasing from her and supporting local businesses. And so how cool is that, right? It's literally called an inspirational coloring book for adults. She bought these, and she had these beautiful gift bags to give to anyone that supported anything that the small business or whatever crafts that her neighbors and her friends are giving her to sell. Talk about spreading good cheer. Talk about spreading wonderful love and hope in the world. That's amazing. Okay, and then I stopped by this stand. There was a man, an elderly man, and a younger man, looked more like a grandpa's grandson type scenario. And we were about to leave because I had kind of walked around and stuff with my mom. And, ooh, are the omelets ready?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm kind of hungry. Okay, I'll finish up. But this man was making little just trinkets of wood, right? Little trinkets of wood. And I was just talking to him, and he had a Vietnam War veteran's hat on. And then just a couple little things, lots of crosses, different variations of crosses. And then he had a box of these, and it just says, peace be with you on it. And I loved that. And I thought it was so funny because in my first Catholic video I made, I started out by saying peace be with you. And so I loved it. And he has his signature there, Ricardo. And I was like, I really want to buy this. I was like, I just wanted to buy something from him because I loved hearing his story. So he was a Vietnam War veteran. During his life, he was somehow did something with an auto mechanic or something with automobiles and engines. And now in his retired age, he has a wood shop in his backyard, and he crafts with his son or his grandson. And first off, the Vietnam War. When the children that got sent to fight in the Vietnam War came back, not many of them came back believing in humanity anymore, or believing in anything, believing in God, believing in anything that was good in the world, right? Because I talked about this with Mormonism. or LDS. At that age, people often go on their mission trips and they get to experience beautiful things. Well, this man, during that same age group, when he was still a child, transitioning from this youth-like state of innocence into what humanity and becoming an adult, becoming a man, starting his life, in that key transition point, 18, 19 years old, he went to Vietnam to serve his mission. And so the things he saw, probably, for someone that age, fundamentally shaped the rest of their lives. Oftentimes people come back as atheists. They plunge themselves into a dark abyss because of what they experienced, because they don't understand how that could even occur at such a young age, and the things they had to do at a young age to other human beings, the things they experienced and witnessed other humans do to other humans, is catastrophic and very influential on the cognition and the further development of that life. But this man, he didn't hold that. It was like he understood it, he experienced it, he acknowledged it, but he didn't let it shape and define what he wanted to do with the rest of his life. And that is remarkable. And so he was going to give this to me for free, just because I was talking with him. I said, no, I'm not taking this for free because you made this, and I want to acknowledge your efforts, and I value this, so thank you. So I bought it. But then he was like, no one's asked me about this over here. And I said, well, what's this? And he said, and he had this listed for free. And if you can see, there's a lighter spot right here because a rubber band was wrapped around it, and it was just on the stand like this. It was on the wall, and he's like, no one's asked me about this, and it had a little sign saying free. And I was like, huh. Well, I actually don't have a cross in my home. So, and I'm aware Catholicism likes to hang these over doors and things like that, and I said, I don't have a cross in my home. And for some reason, he wanted me to have it. And I said, well, I would love to have that. I would love to take that if it is free and you want to give it to me. And so he took it off the stand and he gave it to me. And when I was walking back to my car, I didn't realize it. And when he gave it to me, I saw on the back there was a piece of paper. And it was folded up. It was just folded up right here, so it was hidden. And I just immediately started crying, and I gave him a hug because I knew it was something sentimental. And I said, thank you so much for giving this to me. And then he said, do you want to meet my family? And I said, I'd love to meet your family. And he came up and had a picture. There was a picture there. And he's like, this is my wife, and these are my 3 sons. And he talked about them, and he talked about his grandchildren, and this is my grandson. And I said, what a beautiful family you have. Oh man, all boys. And it was just, we had a little banter back and forth. And it wasn't until I started walking to my car that I opened it up and I read it, because I didn't want to read it in front of him, because it was something obviously it meant for someone to take with them, and I didn't want to deprive him, or I guess I didn't want him to see that moment when I did. And so on the back of that card, what he had written was this. And when I talked to him and when he introduced his family to me, he made no acknowledgement, and neither did his grandson. Neither of them, Ricardo and Vince, neither of them spoke about what had occurred, right? I just thought he had a picture of his family. Cool. And he wanted to introduce them to me. Cool. Obviously, it's hot out. They're not going to be there with him, and they have different lives as well. But this is what was on the back. For whatever life brings you, accept and adjust. You can handle it from start to finish, one day at a time. And then he said, in memory of my wife and our 3 sons. See, there's, yeah. And that hit me. I was like, this man has gone through a lot in his life. He's gone through a lot of hardship. But doing things like this is his way of believing that it's happened for a reason, right? His way of being like, humanity is worth saving. This is something worth living and pursuing. And even when he spoke of his family, He spoke of them with such reverence and sacredness, and not once did he mention that they were gone. I had no idea his family had died. He lost his entire family. He lost his wife and 3 sons in something tragic. I had no idea, because when he spoke of them, he was just so excited to talk about them as if they were alive. I had no idea they were gone. And to be quite frank, I would argue they are alive, because movement never stops. So it was so remarkable to just see what Catholicism has done and how they've set themselves up. Yes, people can have all sorts of opinions on the doctrine and this and that, sure. But at the basis, and again, the foundation, they're humans that have found something that bring them solace and comfort. So who am I to ever judge or critique or shun that? And so I'm so thankful I went to that. And I stumbled upon it because I saw it coincidentally on some Facebook group I'm on that's about flying drones, because some guy was going to come out and help do drone footage for the festival, but he wasn't able to go because something happened last minute, and that's the only reason I saw the flyer. And I said, a Catholic festival. Well, I've been wanting to get into, I wanted to explore the paradigm, so let me go. So extraordinary. So cool. And I dragged my mom to it, even though she isn't Catholic. Ain't that right? Wasn't that fun?
Yeah.
See? She's fundamental Baptist. All right.
I'm Southern Baptist.
Oh, she's Southern Baptist. She corrected me. But I'm going to go eat the omelet she made.
Southern Baptist, the Bible believing Christian.
She's a Southern Baptist Bible believing Christian, if you couldn't hear that. So, but I'm going to go enjoy breakfast with her. She made some omelets for us. But thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And thank you, Catholicism, for finally giving me an invite to explore your paradigm. Oh, so fantastic. Peace be with you.